This is the Anything But Banker to Broker podcast. We're going to be talking to some of the industry's best and brightest about the unique pathways they took before stepping into broking and how it set them up for success. Thanks for listening. Thanks everyone for jumping on and joining. I've got Mohammed Zahr here. He is the first person jumping on, first guest that we've got. So I'll give him a bit of an intro, but I know he's going to fill some gaps in that I definitely missed. So look, he started off working in civil construction. When he reached the age of 25, he stood at a bit of a crossroads and, he decided, do I carry on doing this? Do I skill up in the trade, or do I look at doing something else? And that's where he actually decided to get into broking. And what he said was, from about 2 weeks being into the job, he realized this is the one for him. Does that sound about right?
100%. Yeah. So my journey did start in construction. Along that journey, I did have multiple roles, but construction was my main highlight. And I believe that's where it grew me the most as a person. But as you said, within 2 weeks, I knew, like, you just feel it, you know when the job finds you.
It happened to me, same similar situation. Like, I was working when I moved over here, I was in labouring as well. I was doing all sorts of odd jobs. And then I got my first professional job working for Tesla. And then I ended up getting made redundant there and got a job in recruitment. Very early on, I was like, yeah, this is literally what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, this is something that ticks all the boxes. Like, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the reward of what it gives to me, but also giving to other people and doing it. So yeah, it's good, mate. But I want to start off always with, like, tell me about your upbringing. Tell me about your background and your parents, and where did you get that work ethic from that's pulled you to where you are?
Yeah. So my parents are from South Lebanon. I was born here in Australia and lived in Sydney my whole life. I've barely left the country. So my parents, they struggled a lot. I was raised by a single mother, and yeah, like all the struggles I seen my mum went through when I was younger, it really had a big impact on me. So it kind of taught me a lot about work ethic. Now, I'm blessed. Like, she done an amazing job. Growing up, it was her working 2 jobs to make sure we went to school, went to high school, got the brand new PlayStation, got everything, and had everything a normal kid would have. Very, very thankful for that. But it taught me a lot. It kind of, my childhood sticks with me like every day. And I just think that a lot can be learned from hardship. And I think success is based on what you struggled with earlier in life. You won't understand success without your struggles. It doesn't work like that. So yeah, my mum, worked multiple jobs. I finished school, got into uni, which I thought I'd never be able to do. But it turns out I was pretty smart on the books. I was surprised myself there. And yeah, from there, just looked at different career options. What do I like? The thing is, from around the years 12 to maybe 20 years of age, it was just a purpose of finding myself. What's my purpose? What do I enjoy? People think that you should have everything figured out post the HSC, post finishing high school. I don't believe that. So yeah, that was majority of my childhood, just finding myself and my purpose.
Can empathize, sympathize, whatever the word is, with the single mum thing, because I'm the same. Like, my mum raised me and 3 other kids. She had a bit of a bad luck, so to say, with men. But yeah, essentially, like, I seen her struggle, and she would every bit of money that come in was rent, food on the table, whatever toys you wanted, and then that was it. You know what I mean? But I think she's given me this drive to be a bit more financially literate as well, because while she was doing this, she wasn't ever building anything that was going to compound. She wasn't ever leaving anything behind for us. She was just struggling day to day, which is, it's hard. Like, and yeah, that's definitely probably similar to you. Put that drive into me to kind of go out and go, okay, that sacrifice that my mum made was the foundations of me being able to build so that my daughter doesn't have to go through, and it's not to say it's hard. There's people in the world that are going through much worse things, but, like, it's your circumstances, right? So that foundation, I think, is what has kind of done the same thing probably for both of us.
Definitely. And it's funny we're speaking about this because I posted this on LinkedIn last night. I'm actually helping a client who is a single mother right now. Just, listening to her story, it's just so amazing that I get to help people like that as well. It's very relatable. I even told her like my story, and it's so good. Like, it's the best feeling when you know what someone's going through, and not many people can like understand their perspective, and you're in a position to ultimately change their life as well.
Yeah, and I think this is wider in what we do, right? This is why people come to the brokers, I think, because bankers will build a relationship with people and they'll get on that personal level.
Mm,
But I think if you come to a broker, you get that from day one. Like people lay their cards on the table and they show you, look, I am a person, I'm a human being. I understand the struggles that people go through. And, I understand kind of your situation as well.
exactly, exactly.
So talk to me about working in construction, right? Because look, like I said, I've done laboring here and there. Like, I'm not going to say I know what I'm doing. I didn't. I was literally on site, sweeping up, right?
Yeah.
Absorbing the sunshine. But like, what did it look like for you? What were you doing day to day?
So I started in the civil industry. My early work was, civil roads, asphalt, curbs and gutters. And then I moved into some management roles. And then my last few years in construction were just in big, massive foundation sites, basements and like just all foundation work, shoveling machines, basically out in the open work. Now,
Hmm.
the thing is about construction, it did teach me a lot. Like, it honestly, the work ethic I had to go through, the moments where I had to tell myself I can push more, I can push more. There was some times where I was like, people don't believe me when I say this, but I used to work for some weird, sketchy companies where, there'll be night and
I have
daytime
as
work,
well.
night and daytime work, and
Yeah, yeah,
you have to go back to back. And
yeah.
then at the time, I'm telling myself, this is what hard work is. This is it. But you start to realize, like, wait, this isn't what's best for me. It's not in my best interest. Yes, I'm getting all this money, but where's the fulfillment? Where's that kick that you wake up every day, you want to do what you want to do. A lot of energy comes from that. If you can work 16 hours in a job you like and not feel a thing, because it's all coming back from that passion, and like you actually enjoy what you do. So that was the big
Mhm.
difference. Now, the thing is about construction, you get into it early and you're making good money. You're making decent money for your age. And I think that's the poison, that's the trap, because it will kind of get you thinking like, hey, this is good, but, like, is this all I'm going to do? That was my big struggle, moving away from that paycheck every week, and just being financially safe. But yeah, so it is a good industry, but there's a reason why it has so many exits right now.
Yeah. And it's a funny one because like I was the only one of my mates back in the UK who went to uni. All the rest of them went and worked with the dads, right? Obviously, I didn't have that luxury to go and do that, but I can remember like being 16, 17, 18. And to give you a bit of context, in the UK, we leave like what we call high school when we're 16, and then you do 2 years in between at like a college, so you can go and do a trade or you can go and do business studies or whatever, and then you would go to uni, right? So it's not like the Aussie model where you straight out of high school straight into uni. So my mates were working from 15, 16, and I can remember like, oh shit, I got no money compared to these guys. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
getting paid like my 20, £25 a week from the college to get that from the government. And it really only took me, honestly, until I was about 25, 27, maybe even just now, until I'm earning a wage that I thought was similar to what they were earning back then. You know what I
Mm.
mean? But it's about delayed gratification. I think like you find what you're really interested in, you find what you're good at. Yeah, but that is the poison of it. I think like but again, going back to that, like these people really enjoy what they do. Like I got a mate who's a welder and he never complains about his day. I was complaining about working in an office and cold calling people on the phones, doing whatever, and he's there, you know, in some dingy places,
Yeah.
cold, in the middle of winter, full overalls, and he's not complaining.
Yeah, I have heaps of mates who are successful in construction, but it just comes down to you as a person as well. Do you see yourself doing this? Like, as you said, I threw myself into so many different jobs in construction where I had no idea what I was doing. I just like, hey,
Hmm.
I can learn this day one. I remember going to a different job, just like you just get a text message, hey, go to this site. No one there, nothing. You don't even know what you're going to be doing. Are you going to be moving bricks? Are you going to be shoveling? You just rock up there with so much anxiety, like what's going on here? Obviously, if you have the connections, that pathway is way more smooth. But if you don't have the connections, you're just jumping from ship to ship. Hey, I'm doing this one day. I'm doing this. One day you're shoveling. One day you're operating a machine. And look, the experience was good. I don't regret anything. Like I said, like the values I learned in construction are still with me today in broking.
Hmm. It's nice knowing the environment that you're going to work in when you start the day, right? Because I would turn up to some sites and it'd literally be like, we're talking pre-foundations. They're doing the dig to get the land flattened, right? So I'm like, Jesus. And then I turn up to some and I'm like, yes, we've got a wooden built toilet. Like we're laughing today. We're in for a good one this week.
Yeah, yeah. Like I remember, I had to act like I knew what I was doing. Like someone would tell me, "Go get this tool," and I'll be like in my head, like, "What the fuck is this?" So
Yeah.
I'll just walk and I'll grab anything. I'm like, "Hey, is this the one?" And then they would say, "No, no, go get this." So it was a lot of just weird like things. You just have to get through it.
Yeah.
And then as your experience builds, your confidence builds, just like in any other job. And you start, like, the thing is, there was a point where I was in a 3-man formwork crew. I've never done
Hmm.
formworking in my life. These two people were masters, so I
Hmm.
had to quickly, they didn't want to sit there training me, so I had to quickly, move into
Yeah.
that mindset. So what I've done every single day, I would wake up from day one. I'll tell myself I'm a form worker with 10 years experience. Literally, I'll just look at myself in the mirror. Hey, I'm a form worker. I'm a form worker. So when I went out there, it kind of like that energy just carries on. You start acting like a form worker. You start actually learning quicker because you're a form worker at the end of the day. So it's kind of that manifesting stuff that,
You
really
just
helped me
owned
as
it
well.
basically.
Yeah, yeah. So you put yourself in that environment as quick as you can. And I think that's the best way you're going to learn.
Yeah, and I think if you're working like we have, where we're just doing labor hire or working on sites, like you're not doing it as an apprenticeship, I do feel like it is a hard industry to get that. What's the word I'm looking for? To get that from people, right? Like if you have a mentor now, for example, or a broker that you work next to, you really get that from them. Like, yeah, you're doing a great job, mate. You're smashing it, you're killing it. Like construction, if you're doing it not as an apprenticeship, it's not really an industry where you get a lot of that.
Mm.
So that motivation does really have to come within to be like, you know what, I am learning this, I am picking it up, I am all right, I am doing a good job. I'm not useless with my hands. Like same with me, I knew that I'm better using my head than I am using my hands. So you're always going to feel like an idiot doing something that is not something that you should be doing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And a lot of my managers noticed that I was really good with my brain, and I wasn't really good on the tools. So
Yeah, yeah.
I ended up like finding my way into some management positions, and there I am, probably 21 years old, managing a crew of, let's say, 8 people for asphalt,
Hmm.
and with me having no asphalt experience. Like, how am I going to do this? This was insane. Like, I still think of it like, how did I survive 1 year doing that? That was one year of my job. And it just comes down to that, that factor, like, hey, you'll figure this out. Just jump in the deep end, figure it out. Especially in an industry like construction, there's a lot of tension already. People are angry.
Yeah.
People want, like, everything has to move smoothly. It's like you, in broking, you may stuff up on an application and you can fix it. But if you stuff up a concrete pour, it's costly, very hard
Yeah.
to
And
fix.
everyone else can see it. That's the most important thing. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The client could come on site and go, Jesus, what have you done there? Whereas if you mess something up in the background that can be fixed in an application, it's not that deep. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and then you've got to deal with the site politics, which was always a funny one as well. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so that exposed me to running teams, managing people, managing emotions. I think
Hmm.
it was so good that I learned that at a very young age, because there were so many times where you have to kind of compromise your own emotions to make sure everything is done. And you can't you can't have this, like, personality where you're a bit sensitive. You really
Hmm.
just have to make everything work. If someone's upset, if something doesn't go wrong, I think the number one thing is you have to keep your head clear. Those are the skills that carry on. In broking, I think, like, you definitely need to have your head always clear in any circumstance. There's big deposits on the line sometimes, a lot of
Yeah.
money on the line. And if you're thinking with emotion, you're not going to, carry that and get that across the line. So that's one thing about construction as well. Like dealing with people started for me in construction, not in
Hmm.
broking.
What did you study at uni? We didn't really cover that.
So I went into uni studying construction management and I
Hmm.
spent 2 years doing that. And I remember I was in a lecture room. I looked around, there's 300 people. And I'm looking around like these people all know what they're doing. I don't. I was just looking at the
Because
lecturer.
these are ex-tradies or current
Yes,
tradies that are trying to get off the tools, right? Because their wives or
yes.
husbands or whatever have said, maybe it'd be nice to see you before 7 o'clock every day, right? So that's probably what you was up against there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like these people know what they're doing. They know how to construct a frame. They know everything. All I know is how to dig at that point. So
Hmm.
I started thinking like, hey, maybe like, when you have that feeling inside, but you just you resist it as much as you can because growing up, you're taught something different. You're like, we were conditioned to believe that, hey, you should go for whatever works, go to uni, find a good paying job and stick to that. But for some people, that can't be the case, because if that's the case for everyone, then there'll be no problems in the world, So
Hmm.
it came to a point where I was in that lecture room, looked around, and I'm like, nah, I feel this isn't for me. I'm competing against too many people here that are just way better at me. So I don't think I'll last in this industry. Stood up from that lecture room, went and dropped out, and then went into my car, Honda Civic 1997, um, on the highway, thinking, okay, what now? What do I do?
Yeah.
So yeah, after uni, I just stayed working in construction until, like, I had that mindset of eventually I'll figure this out and it will come to me. And
Yeah.
I think that's why right now that's where it's led me to.
Did you go to broking or did broking come to you then? You know what I mean? Because mate, I had no intention of getting into recruitment, right?
Mm.
Like my business degree, HR is really technically what I do, right? That was probably the one that I enjoyed the least. I was more focused on the finance or more focused on the accounting side of things. Like I never intended to get into recruitment, but it just kind of presented itself. So yeah, what was it like for you?
Yeah, I definitely believe broking found me. And the reason I say
Hmm.
that is I looked at so many career options. And if I work 1 week in construction, I'll spend the weekends looking for, careers and what should I be doing. I was probably about 24, 25 at the time. And
Hmm.
then mortgage broking kept popping up on Seek, kept being in front of me because I was always interested in the economy. That's always been a passion. Like, how does debt work? How does money work? I've always researched that aspect. Like, why is there so much debt in the world? So that kind of led me to broking. And then there was one day I was driving home from work after shoveling all day, and I had applied for a few jobs in broking, and I got a call, and it was for an interview. So that was 1 year in the making. So I've
Hmm.
been studying up to that call. I've been studying broking for 1 year, not like course, just learning about the industry. And it kind of, just to backtrack a bit, it kind of started with me approaching a broker for finance of my own, and he actually recommended I look into that industry. So went to that interview, and literally, like, interview went well, got the call a few days after, we can hire you, we're happy to take you on. And then yeah, that was a very stressful week because it's like, hey, if I do this, there's no going back. Like, I'm the type of person, if I really want to do something, I'm gonna make sure. And yeah, it took them about 1 week to draw up the contract, and that was like the most stressful week because I'm like, hey, are they actually gonna hire me?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
Yeah,
I can tell you this from my experience. Like, it's small business. Like
yeah.
they don't have them there ready to go. Like it takes a while. They want to make sure everything's ironclad. Like it happens.
Yeah, so my boss for construction at the time was telling me, "Are you going or are you leaving? It's been 1 week, you haven't given me a firm answer yet." I'm like, "Just wait, wait, wait." So I called the director. I'm like, "Hey, like, you hired me, you told me the interview was all well, but I haven't received anything." He's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, no, 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 we're working on it," and that was just like a relief. So yeah, got hired. Went straight into training as a broker support. Sorry.
Mhm.
And that's where everything kicked off for me. It was very, very like a steep learning curve. Like I had to learn a lot
Mhm.
very quickly. I was like, as much as people tell you, hey, you know, you got time, we're here to support you. In my mind, like, I don't want to be a burden to their business coming in and not putting in the effort. I want to be
Mhm.
like, I want to make sure that they made the right decision, and I want to make sure that I'm in the right industry. So, yeah, this first few months were intense. The amount of things you have to learn, from the systems to the policy to how banks actually work and approve home loans, networking, everything was just all in at once. And that's what I loved. So, yeah.
So, what would you say to someone in your position, or well, who was in your position, right? That sat at that crossroad and they don't really know what to do. And it doesn't have to be going into broking, but what would your advice be to them?
Yeah. Look, my advice is, there's one thing being patient, and there's one thing, you know, being patient, but also putting in the effort. Like I said, from my early childhood, I knew I was going to find my purpose and what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how and how it will find me. But
Mhm.
the thing is, you can't just wait and sit back and wait until it comes to you. You have to put in that effort. Like if I was to say, ask you where is your goal, and you told me that where your goal is, like what steps are you doing to get closer to that? So my advice would be, if you feel something, if you feel like you're not in the right place, doesn't matter how small those steps are, you need to take them. My small
Mhm.
steps were going on the internet and learning about the broking industry during the weekends. Like that kind of led to my next conversation with a broker, my next application, my next, you know, so you really have to be consistent in those small steps. And then as those small steps build, you'll eventually find yourself moving towards that goal quicker. So if I was to speak to someone that feels like they're not in the right industry right now, or they don't like the job they're doing, it's fucking scary trying to go from something secure and not like something that you've been working years in to something completely different. It's so scary. It's that path when you're moving. Those are the lessons that come in. Those are where the lessons come in.
Yeah, and that's where and that's the whole point of this, I guess, is right. Like, because we would look at a banker who is 4 years in the job, that's been writing loans, like has all the credit knowledge at least from their bank. On paper, you'd look at them and you'd look at you and you'd go, that person's a sure shot. But you know what? 10 times out of 10, that person doesn't actually believe in themselves to do it in the first place because they're in a cushy job, they're comfy, they don't want to leave, they've got it all easy, they've got meetings booked in for them, there's leads coming through, like everything is there. There's no reason for them to leave. But there is, but you know what I'm trying to say? So you obviously did your support role for just over 2 years, is that right?
Yeah, just under 2 years.
Just under 2 years, sorry. Yeah, and then you went self-employed. So, how did you find that transition? And from a personal perspective, and then a business perspective, what's it given to you?
So you just mentioned like with banker to broker, right? Now there's been a few brokers I've met who came from a completely different industry, like with me, construction, right? When you're
Hmm.
transitioning to from an industry that it doesn't involve networking, doesn't involve reaching out to people, you're just kind of like a robot. You know, it might be doing something manual, like a manual labor task. It's a very different environment. So when you transition from an industry like that, you're not just learning broking, you're learning people, you're understanding people, and you're learning how to put yourself out there. Obviously, as a banker, you're kind of already in that environment. As a banker, your day-to-day job is to make sure, you know, deals might be moving smoothly, you're reaching out to people, you're networking. So that was one big struggle. Like, I don't like to actually call it a struggle, but it was one big learning opportunity. So
Hmm.
coming into this industry, it's a lot of talking, a lot of reaching out. Now, as a kid, I was kind of an introvert. I still am, but I knew that as an introvert, like, you got strengths as well. An introvert typically will know how to listen more, and they're more analytical, you know, from a scientific perspective. So I kind of played to that strength. I didn't try to be someone who I wasn't. I didn't want to go out to people and say, hey, I'm this confident broker. I'm like, no, hey, look, I can help you. And this is your situation, and these are the options I have. So I started very small. That's what I presented to people. And it kind of grew from there. As the applications start coming in, you get that confidence. There was times where I worked on applications and like, I had to literally sit back in my chair and like, wow, take me back, a few years. I can't imagine me of myself doing this. You know, from working on my first SMSF application to my first trust application, like those can get complex. And to think that I done that within a few years, it might not be an achievement for, others, but that's massive. Like if anyone was to change from an industry, that's completely irrelevant to broking and accomplish that, I think it's major. I think it kind of tells you that you're there, you're on the right path.
Yeah, I think so as well. And like Instagram, for example, is going back to what you were saying there about coming into the industry, and Instagram's been one for you that I think has been a really good has a really good use case. But how
Yeah.
did you find that being someone who is naturally introverted? Because I know myself over the last 18 months is when I've started posting videos and really trying to get myself out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like how did that go? Because it probably felt a bit unnatural to you at the start, right?
Oh man. Like the other day I was watching my first few videos and I'll just look at myself like, what was I doing? And like the thing is, a lot of brokers on social media will say the same thing. You just have to start. You have to start. And my mindset going into it was like, hey, people are going to talk. People are going to have opinions. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, like it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, like my mindset was, hey, this is a phone with pixels on it. You're putting out content out there. If people are going to judge you on that, then that's their problem. My focus was try to put out content that's going to help people and increase engagement and traffic. And obviously that was my first strategy to get leads. My network wasn't big. I came from an industry that doesn't rely on networking. So if I was just to go out there and start networking, it's going to be really slow. So I knew social media was the way. And I'm like, fuck it. Let's put on videos. Let's do everything we can, run ads, and see how that goes. And within the first few months, the results showed like my first few major deals came from social media, and they weren't paid ads. They were just simply telling my existing network, hey, I'm a broker. And then new follows came along. I put out more videos, new follows. Eventually I got a call. This was my first deal as a solo broker. It was a good refinance, and she on the phone said, "Hey, I saw your social media post." She knew I was new to broking. She knew everything, but the content I was putting out helped her situation, and that was the reason she reached out. Yeah, it's just that thing of stepping outside the comfort zone. I've seen other brokers very successful on social media, and it's truly inspiring. Like you mentioned before we started this, a few brokers you've been speaking to, and honestly, like it's what pushes me. The thing is about this industry is the collaboration's insane. It's insane. Like I'm constantly speaking to other brokers in DMs, and it really, as a new broker, it's so good to have that. It's so good to have brokers that are writing 100 mil plus respond to you, because that's value right there. Like you have this opportunity to ask questions and learn. So social media has been massive. I would say it's the biggest factor to me growing my business.
Yeah, it is a very collaborative industry, I think. And another thing as well is like there's very few industries where you can really get paid for the work that you put in. Like the what you can earn is the work that you do, right? And it goes back to as well, you're just solving people's problems at the end of the day. Like when I've spoke to a lot of younger brokers or people that are working in like the CSM roles, they're struggling to go, how do I find leads? How do I find people that I can sell to? And it's like you need to reverse the mindset. You're not selling them something that they don't need. You're finding the people whose problems that you can solve and solving those problems for them. Right? On your Instagram thing though, right? Like the saying goes, you don't have to feel good to get started, but you have to get started to feel good. Like
Exactly.
you just get naturally it becomes more of a thing. Like it becomes more natural for you to start doing the videos and stuff, right? And it builds familiarity. People get to know who you are and feel like they know you without actually speaking to you or connecting with you. It's very useful.
It's Look, for most people, like we're humans at the end of the day. Everyone's gonna feel slight nerves or feel uncomfortable posting putting themselves out there on social media, right? Now, my mindset was, hey, look, it might feel uncomfortable at the start, but eventually I won't care anymore. And that's the point I am at now. And I think that's, you just gotta firstly see the results. There's so many content I put out that won't get 100 views. But I know for a fact that out of that 100 views, one person has got value at least. And that one person has a network. And then that one person might have a problem I can solve. So that's the
Yeah.
way I looked at it. It's just numbers at the end of the day. Like social media has had a big impact on people positively and negatively. And I removed my personal Instagram and my social media as well, just to focus on my business, social media. And it's just, yeah, it's one of them things. Like a lot of brokers say this now, and I agree. The future of broking is being on social media and being active everywhere. You might, like, obviously you can have a big network and you can leverage that, but you know, people's attention are so much on social media these days that, like, not being there is killing your business rather than improving it. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, and I think especially the older school brokers, the older brokers that are coming to that retirement age, like they're probably not going to be the type of people that are going to go, you know what, I'm going to jump on TikTok for the next 3 years and see if I can smash my numbers out because they're not doing it for that. But I think people that are either in the middle of their career or the younger brokers like yourself, you really do appreciate that the people that you're going to be like what's going to be your customer base, the people whose problems you're going to be solving for the next 20 years,
Mm.
the Gen Zs, they are on TikTok, right? And there's going to be a huge transfer of wealth from their parents to them. Like that's where people are really going out and building those relationships with them. On the topic of that as well, like the next 20 years, how do you have you got a business plan in place that you can share? Like, what are you looking to do? Do you want to scale up? Do you
Mm.
want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So interesting question, because me and you have spoken about, plans in the past as well.
Hmm.
Although I am a solo broker, I firmly believe that a team, working in a team, is much more beneficial. Now, it's kind of weird I say that and I'll remain a solo broker, but in the next few years, I do believe that I'll be a part of a team, whether I hire my own team or join a team. And the thing is, it's just there's so much collaboration opportunity, there's so much growth in a team. To try to do everything yourself is impractical, and I just don't see it happening. Yeah, I can be the broker that can scale up and write 50 mil a year on my own forever, but if I want to, like, the thing is, so if you're
So,
ambitious and you want to hit those big numbers, you got to think, what's the way to do it? Where's the path of least resistance? And the inspiration comes from looking at other teams in broking and how well they're performing and how well they get along. I think that's a big thing coming to this industry. You have to kind of decide, hey, can you do this on your own forever, or are you willing to be part of a team that wants to grow? So that's where I'm at right now. Right now, my business is become the best broker I can be, and like, how much can I achieve on my own? And then also looking at, okay, how can I, you know, plug into a team? How can I add value, and where can I go within the right team? So that's where, you know, that's where I'm at. Like, I love working as a solo broker, and my goals is to hire as well. Like, I want to be leading a team eventually,
mhm.
but in this industry, like, I'm still very early. I'm 28 years old. I believe most brokers are in their late 30s, 40s. So there's still a lot of opportunity out there, and I'm just taking my time and seeing, how far can I push this? Like, if you're writing, let's say, one mil a month, which I believe is the average right now for solo brokers, like, what's your incentive to join a team? Like, if I can maybe hit 50 mil on my own in 1 year, I can hire my own team, or I can join a team that, is writing those big numbers, and just kind of build my system out from there. So there's a lot to work on.
Yeah, I think there's power in numbers, right? And I think there's also power in you being able to go on holiday and you being able to enjoy your life. Because similar to me, similar to you now, like if I step away for a day, the business ceases to exist. No work's being done, nothing's happening, right? You know, even stepping out to doing this for an hour, like there's stuff in the background that's not being done. And I think for me, like what I'd like to do is either bring people on as partners and have like a partner model where people are in different states, hire junior people that are just going to be doing some of the sourcing, for example, like your equivalent of the processing, all of that stuff. But I think what you said there is perfect. Like scale up to a point where there's value for both sides. You know what I mean? Because if you're writing, what are average numbers like? If you're whatever they seem to be like, you're all right for a month. You know what I mean? But if you're getting to a
Mm.
point where you're bogged down with too much and there's bottlenecks and you're losing enjoyment elsewhere in your personal life, that's
Yeah.
when there's so much more plugging into like a bigger beast.
100%. And like, there's one company out there, fairly new company. I'm sure some people will be able to guess this company, but they're partners. And the thing is, what inspired me was they both have their strengths and weaknesses, and they play perfectly into each other. And they got big goals. Like, they, in my opinion, they will be the biggest brokerage out there. But that's the thing. Like, you may be. There's one thing being a broker, but how good are you with people? Are you good at writing deals, or are you good at generating leads? I believe you can't be 100% at both. So when you collaborate, if you're in a team, everyone has their part, everyone has their strength and weaknesses, and that's the biggest benefit. If you're solo and you're on your own forever, yes, the lifestyle is great if you're writing big numbers, but it comes to that factor, like, what do you want to hit and where do you want to be? And that's the deciding factor. Like, if you're happy where you are, there's obviously nothing wrong with it. But if you want to get to that next level, if you want to be up there, I believe, yeah, definitely there's talent in collaboration, and there's definitely success in there.
All right, lovely. And I think we'll segue to as we get towards the end of it now. So, like, obviously, as part of this industry, mentorship is something that needs to happen, right? So, mentorship for me is two things. It's somebody who's actually teaching you and somebody who's actually ticking off and just doing the compliance, right? And I see some people get that real compliance heavy mentorship where they know what they're doing, they just get someone to tick the boxes. And some people get that real hands-on
Yeah,
mentorship where they're actually teaching and learning stuff, right? So, it'd be good to understand what did that look like for you? Like, what were your teachings like, and
yeah.
what was it like working under somebody else?
So yeah, my role as broker support, definitely, like, I had two directors working under two directors, and that's the thing. They both had their strengths and weaknesses, and you learn by working. Like, that saying where if you're working with some, like, a high performer, your own performance increases.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I felt when I first started, and to have that, when I was working as broker slash broker support, to have that accessible mentor, that guidance, it really is the deciding factor on whether your own deals will go to the next stage or not. Because when you're new, there's these little things that matter, like, hey, is settlement booked, or is it ready to be booked? Like, you don't know this stuff yet. So, like, just having a mentor to guide you. And there's one thing having a broker, like a brokering mentor, and then there's a business mentor as well, you know and it comes down to that. Like, you can go out and find a mentor that's going to help you write deals, but is that mentor also going to help you get the deals in? And there are a few, great mentors out there. I've collaborated with a few new mentors that are in the industry, and it's been great. Like, recently, I had Joseph. I'm sure everyone knows Joseph, but he's man, like, he helped me get a deal across the board. So, and he was just being available. So that's the thing. Like I mentioned, the collaboration in this industry, I don't think there's another industry like it, where other brokers can help you get things across the line.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it, because recruitment has always been an industry where people are a bit more. Now, you don't help those guys out. Now, you don't help people out. And a guy who I know quite well has built this community in the last, probably just about last 2 years. And he was actually instrumental in me starting my business, but he's brought people together in there, and people are sharing their stories, their tricks, like what they've done. Like, people are not, people are understanding, you know what, there's enough business out there for all of us, right? There's enough for us to all be happy, and there's enough for us to all feed our kids and feed ourselves. Collaborating with each other and giving back to people like in the industry, it brings a lot through the door as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I can almost guarantee if you're giving out to someone who seems far more experienced and like they've got more life knowledge and stuff that they know than you, there's going to be something that you know better than them. You know what I mean? Like people in this group I'm in, like I've been helping them a lot with the AI, the automations and stuff, right? These guys have been running their own business for 20 years, so there's a lot of value that I can get out of them. So it's beautiful to have.
Yeah, and during my journey, I sat down with a lot of brokers, shared coffees with, and that's the thing. Like with what you're doing, you're learning stories on people that weren't bankers, right? And when you don't start as a banker and everything's completely new to you, it's different. Like if I was let's say 10 years down the track, I'm interviewing to bring someone on, and I know that this person has no networking, brokering, anything got to do with finance, any experience. Well, what are you looking at? You're not looking at numbers. You're not looking at how many deals this guy can get in. You're looking at the person, what kind of person, and where's the strength and weaknesses. This guy, like, they're probably not going to tell you, hey, I can write 10 mil in a year, in the first year. But if you sense that they have the characteristics, they have the personality or the skills to do that, you're the leader. It's up to you to bring that out of them. Like there was many times I sat down with brokers where they purely just looked at numbers. Hey, how much are you writing? And you tell them, and they're not happy. They don't want to collaborate with you. But then speaking with other brokers as well on Instagram, they're replying to all your stories, your success, and they're saying, hey, like this is a massive achievement, and they recognize that. So that's important. The big difference between being new to the industry completely and then having that experience in finance as well.
Yeah, because I think some people can come out the gate and smash it in their first year and really hit massive numbers, ridiculous numbers, right? Some of it is hard work, some of it is luck. I think some of it's positioning. But just because someone doesn't come out the gate and hits bloody 50, 60 mil in their first year, it doesn't mean that by year 10, they're not going to be doing that comfortably every year. Um, the journey for a lot of people takes, for some people, there's different times it takes longer. All right, so talk to me before we finish up. Like, what does the rest of the year look like for you, and what have you got going on
Yeah.
outside of work, inside of work?
Yeah. So September,
Hopefully, a first holiday outside the country, because you said.
yeah, that's coming up soon. So I'm hoping February, Southeast Asia, taking my family out there. So yeah, like September was a wake up call for me. It's just the back of maybe my biggest month in terms of settlements and leads coming in, and it kind of set the pace for me to finish the year strong. So it's just one of those things. Like if you asked me earlier in the year how's my business going, I was kind of like, hey, I don't know how this year's going to turn out, but as I touched on earlier, you just have to keep consistent, and that's what I'm trying to do. Just seeing the results come in after all the work you're doing is such a good feeling, and it's just kind of like, okay, where's that next level? If I work this hard during the year and I got here, how much more harder can I work and get to the next level and the next level? And it's a factor of, okay, are you working hard and are you working smart? So that's the thing. And look, there's a thing of working hard and getting the results in, but then there's a point where you have to just enjoy it a bit. You have to understand how far you've come. And we touch back on this topic again, like when you come to a new industry, for the first 5 years, I'd say, like I'm approaching my third year now. I'd say for the first 5 years is probably going to be the most stressful, you know 5 years you'll ever have in your life. It's just you have to find that foundation, that balance, but at the same time you have to don't lose yourself in the process, which I struggled with at the start. There's going to be a lot of stressful times where you're going to have doubts, which is you're going to have in anything you do in life. So it's so important just to find that balance. And like, I enjoy my fishing, I enjoy going out, I enjoy doing these activities while building this business, and I think that that's so important. You see these people on LinkedIn say you have to work 24/7, don't sleep. We all know we're humans, and that's not sustainable. So yes, I've worked my ass off, but there's also this mindset of me like, hey, I've done those 24-hour back-to-back shifts, and it's not sustainable. So
For your physical health and your mental health, like it
yeah,
just doesn't. Yeah.
yeah, like you're telling me like you're gonna work, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and rock up to meetings with your clients, showing how tired and how everything in your life is chaotic. Like, no, you got to have a balance. And I think that's so important. And that's the thing that broking offers, at least. Like, you do the work, you get it done, but you have that time as well to yourself. And I think that's so important.
Me too, mate. All right. Well, look, thank you for jumping on, mate. Look, really appreciate your time. Good to chat to you again.
Yeah.
Next one, I'll be good to sit down in person and do it properly. All right.
Yeah, no, this is really good, and like I said, like
Thanks, mate.
I really love what you're doing here, and I'm excited to see the other stars you have on the podcast, and yeah, I just can't wait to it all unfolds.
We'll see how it goes, mate. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.